Hello everyone, this is part 5 of the presentation made on the topic quality of service. So we already seen what is integrated service architecture, and now we are going to see a different approach of providing quality of service, that is a differentiated service. And before that, why we have to switch from integrated service to differentiated service. So we have something called a scalability issue that make us to change the paradigm. So while the integrated service architecture and the RSVP together represented a significant enhancement over the best effort service model of a typical IP network, many internet service providers felt that it was not a right model for them to deploy. The reason for this relates to one of the fundamental design goals of an internet protocol, that is scalability. If you are looking at a burst effort model, the routers in the internet store little or no state information about the individual flows passing through them, right? So the normal TCP/IP network, if we are looking at the router, there is no state information at all. But here we don't have hard state, but still we are having soft state information, even though it is automatically timeout and it's getting cleared, but still that state information is getting reserved at the intermediate routers, and that is making this scalability concern. Thus, as the internet grows, the only thing the router have to do to keep up with that growth is to move more number of bits per second and to deal with a large routing table. So this is what our current best effort model is doing, to achieve this scalability, simply improve the number of bits that are transmitted by the routers by improving the capacity of the router, and also to deal with the say large routing table, so that more traffic can be handled, and whenever new nodes are adding up, accordingly we are just increasing the size of the routing table. So that is fine, but when it comes to soft state, in addition to these, the router has to take care of the reservation, that soft state information per flow also. So that is making that scalability issue. So but RSVP raises the possibility of reservation per flow in addition to this flow passing through the router. To understand the severity of this problem, simply if I am saying that this soft state is going to add leads to some scalability issue, you may not understand. So I am taking an example. Suppose that every flow on a typical 2.5 gigabits per second link represents a 64 kilobits per second audio stream. That means we have a link capacity of 2.5 gigabits per second, and where different audio streams are moving on, each one is requiring say 64 kilobits per second. Now how many such flows are possible? So you can simply divide, right? 2.5 into giga, that is 10 raised to 9 divided by 64 into 10 raised to 3, and this is a value approximately 39000. That means if this is the case, it is possible to have 39,000 different flows passing through that particular router. So that many soft state information should be maintained in that router. So this is how, as your capacity of the outgoing link is increasing, you can support more flows, accordingly more soft state information you have to maintain in the intermediate router. So that is making the issue. So each of these reservation needs some amount of state information, even though it is minute, but some amount of information state needs to be stored in the memory and refreshed periodically, and that is also another concern. Periodically, in every 30 seconds you have to refresh it, and that is to be done for every flow. Okay, the router needs to classify and also the router has to classify the packets. They have to perform the policing, whether it is following the T-spec or not, checking it has to queue each such flow if you are using some weighted fair queuing, and also everything is an overhead. So admission control decision need to be made each time such a new flow is coming, like requesting a reservation. So this is about the scalability issue, and these scalability concerns prevented the widespread deployment of integrated service approach. So because of this concern, other approaches that do not require so much per flow state have been developed. And out of that, the most popular one is a differentiated service, and that is what we are going to look up now. So differentiated service approach of implementing quality of service, and it is mainly we have something called the per hop behaviors, expedited per hop behavior EF and assured per hop behavior. So it is coming under two flavors mainly, that is this EF and AF. We will see that. So integrated service architecture allocates resources per individual flow, where the differentiated service model, or in short DIFSER, allocates the reservation to a small number of classes of traffic. Now the reservation is made for a particular class of traffic, not for individual flow. Okay, so in fact some proposed approaches to differentiated service simply divide the traffic into say two classes. So you can classify the traffic into n number of classes, but normally just like the broader classification is say into two classes, and they are like the best of effort service model can be enhanced by adding just one new class which we call as a premium service class. That means we have the existing best effort service class and another one is a premium one. That means those who want the special service are coming under the premium service class. Rather than using a reservation protocol like RSVP, here in differentiated service there is no concept of RSVP. Instead of that, rather than using a protocol like RSVP to tell the routers that some flow is sending say premium packets, it would be much easier if the packets could just identify themselves to the router when they arrive. In the previous case, by running an RSVP protocol, we are doing the reservation. But here there is no such reservation that is done in advance. Instead, whenever a packet is coming, there will be some special bit in the packet that identify itself as a premium service or a non-premium best effort service. So this could be just can be done by using a special bit in the packet header. That is enough. Just remember how the previous one is working. For every flow, there will be some reservation phase where reservation is done. Now whenever a new flow is coming, we will we will classify the flow, it is part of which flow, and accordingly the reservations are given. And for doing that checking, we are taking if it is IPv4, we are taking all the 5 fields, right? But here no such ORGAT is needed. Instead, in every packet we are just adding say one more bit to identify whether it is part of premium service or not. So now you have to think of from the header where we are going to find out the space for this one bit. Okay, that is possible actually, we will see. And the bit will be set to 0 if it is a best effort delivery. So this bit could be set at the administrative boundary. That means we are not allowing the actual originator of the message to set the bit, then it may not be fair. So it is to be done at the administrative boundary, that is a edge router. For example, the router at the edge of an internet service provider network might set the bit for the packet arriving on an interface that connects to a particular company's network. That means from a particular organization which is the edge router or the the router that is associated with the nearest internet service provider, and that particular router will be doing this setting up of the bit. So the internet service provider might do this because the company may paid a higher level of paid for a higher level of service than best effort. So now it will be in a paid way also, like if you want a premium service, you have to pay to the internet service provider, and when you are paying, whenever some whatever the packets coming from your machine, that particular company, the ISP will be given, will be marking that packet as a premium one. But it is also possible that not all the packets would be marked as premium, because then everybody is premium, then there is no meaning of classification, nothing, right? So for example, the router might be configured to mark the packets as premium up to some maximum rate, and to leave all excess packets as best effort. That you have to take in mind. So you are not going to mark everyone as premium. The router has to decide to whom it has to do so. Maybe based on the payment given or some other criteria. So whenever a marked packet arrive at the router, the Internet Engineering Task Force IETF standardized a set of router behavior. So it is a behavior of the router, not the end machine, nothing, to be applied to the marked packet, and this is called per hop, because router is our hop, right? So hopping is done at the router. So per hop or per router, what is the behavior needed for the flow? So this is what we call as a per hop behavior, and some standard set of per hop behaviors are already defined under the IETF standard. A term that indicates that they define the behavior of individual router rather than the end-to-end server. Then that is happening at a different router. Now that means this per hop behavior, we have the broad classification of service into premium and best effort. When it comes to premium, the premium service can ask for per hop behavior, and that also there are different per hop behaviors available, and that is standardized by IETF. And because there are more than one per hop behavior, right? If you are restricted in that there is only per hop behavior, then it is not a good thing. So you can have more than one per hop behavior, and there is also we need more than one bit for doing so in the packet header. So now from where we are going to find some bits for doing it. So what they done is, if you are looking at IPv4, the IETF decided to make use of the type of service field of the IPv4 network. That is, we know in IPv4 we have the 8-bit type of service field, and from that 8-bit you make use of some bits for identifying the per hop behavior from the IP header, because it is not being widely used, right? Even though it is defined by IPv4 in a specific way, that you see how it is defined initially, but as there is no widespread use of that type of service field, people started thinking like, why don't we use it in a different way? So if you are looking at the type of service field alone, I'm not remembering the RFC, just check it out. Initially we have one set of meaning for this TOS field, but recently it is changed after the implementation of differentiated service. Now it is like, out of the 8 bits that is given in the type of service by field, 6 bits are given for the differentiated service code point, like to define the per hop behavior. You know, using 6 bit you can have say 2 raised to 6, 64 different combination. Each combination will be defining a particular per hop behavior, and we call the 6 bits out of the 8 differentiated service code point, DSCP, where each differentiated service code point is a 6-bit value that identifies a particular per hop behavior to be applied for the packet. So now we are seeing actually there are many per hop behaviors defined, and out of them 2 popular per hop behaviors are the expedited forwarding and assured forwarding, and we are just seeing in detail how these 2 things are working. So first one, the expedited forwarding per hop behavior. The packets marked with the EF treatment should be forwarded by the router with the minimal delay and loss. This is a speciality. Okay, they are in need of minimum delay and loss. They are premium service only, but still we are focusing on minimum delay and loss when it comes to expedited forwarding per hop behavior. The only way that a router can guarantee this to all the EF packet is the arrival rate of the EF packet at the router is strictly limited to be less than the rate at which the router can forward them. So whenever somebody is requesting for expected forwarding EF per hop behavior, the router has to check whether it can provide it or not. So how it is checking? It has to ensure that the arrival rate should be less than what is the rate by which it can send the data. For example, for a router with say 100 megabits per second interface needs to be sure that the arrival of the EF packet destined for this particular interface should not exceed 100 megabits per second. So it can send the data at this speed only. If the data is coming with a higher speed, then definitely it can't send it. So some dropping will be there. So it can't ensure the minimal delay and loss. So before giving a promise to expedited forwarding per hop behavior, the router has to check what is requested by the flow, so that it has to ensure. It might also want to be sure that the rate will be somewhat below 100 megabits per second, but if I am saying that the router outgoing capacity is 100, it is not it is promising you up to 100, because it want to send some other important information also, like it want to occasionally send say other packets such as routing updates, and that is something need that is to be done in a frequent way, and it is need some attention, right? So such packets also has to be handled. So what is asked by the user should be less than 100 megabits per second. It will be some 100 megabits per second minus some x, and that x megabits per second is for the communication of some other important information, say like the routing update. The rate limiting of expedited forwarding packet is achieved by conferring the configuring the routers at the edge of an administrative domain to allow certain maximum rate of EF packet arrival into the domain. So that is, this checking has to be done at the edge router also. When it promises something, it is a responsibility of the edge router to ensure that the particular flow is coming with that speed only. A simple conservative approach would be to ensure that sum of the rates of all EF packets entering a domain is less than the bandwidth of the slowest link in the domain. So just consider all the outgoing links which is slowest. Ensure that the sum of all the incoming data, the total capacity demanded by all the incoming data should be less than the outgoing capacity of the one with the slowest capacity, so that at any time there will not be any problem, right? So this would ensure that even in the worst case where all the expedited forwarded packet, say everybody is sending EF packet, converge is coming to the router, then they will converge on the, say, slowest link also, because all of them has to travel through the slowest link to reach a particular destination. It is not overloaded because we already checked that. We are looking at the capacity of the slowest link, and accordingly we made promises to the packets which are requesting EF behavior and can provide the correct behavior. So the speciality is this you have to keep in mind, the minimum delay and loss. So when you are giving a particular packet, say a service like EF per hop behavior, you have to ensure that I can give it. So that checking is done in prior. If everything is fine, that will be promised, and accordingly it will handle. So there are several possible implementation strategies for this expedited forwarder behaviors, and one is to give EF packets strict priority over all other packets. And another one is to perform a weighted pair queuing between the EF packets and other packets with the weight of EF packets set higher than others, so that they can be delivered quickly. Now, once you allotted, how you are making sure that you are delivering them quickly, and that is by means of, say, weighted pair queuing or some assignment of some priority of this EF packet compared to others. Another behavior is assured forwarding, and in here the packet marking can be performed by the router at the edge of an administrative domain. The customer might be on any network, for example the network of a corporation or of another network service provider. So whoever be the customer, where it is associated with that particular service provider or some other service provider, here it is a kind of understanding between the one who is requesting some service and the internet service provider or the edge router. So it is like this: the customer and the service provider agree on some kind of a profile for assured service. So the service provider is saying that I can provide you this profile, whether you are okay to follow this or not, something like that. And perhaps a customer pays the service provider for the profile also, because it is providing a better profile, right? So accordingly, if you are paying it, you may be getting a better profile, like that. So this is what I can guarantee, whether you want it or not, like that. And now the customer may be ready to accept it, or he may not be ready to accept it. If he is ready to accept, then before sending any packet from that particular organization, the router has to cross check whether it is with respect to the profile or not. Now after setting up the profile, it's like the profile might be something, say customer X is allowed to send up to Y megabits per second of assured traffic. That means I am assuring you a maximum of Y megabits per second, but if you are coming with a speed of say more than Y megabits per second, still it will be given, but there is no assurance. So that is the idea. Or it could be significantly say more complex also. So whatever the profile is, the edge router can clearly mark the packet that arrived them from the customer as being either in or out of the profile. So this is the idea. So whenever a packet is coming from the customer, check whether it is keeping that profile or not. If it is in the profile, it will be marked as an in packet, otherwise it will be marked as out packet. Now in the example, just to mention, as long as the customer sends say less than Y megabits per second, that means it is promising, it is keeping its promise, all these packets will be marked as in. But once it exceeds the rate, such packets will be marked as out. Now this is the assured behavior has its roots on approaches known as random early detection array with in and out, like RIO. So this is an approach that we already learned. So random early detection is with the in and out. So that is a variation of red algorithm, or it can be implemented by weighted red. So no need to go in detail. Those who don't know, just understand like what I am going to explain. So the figure shows how it is working. It is like this. In x-axis I am taking the average queue length, and in y-axis I am taking the probability of dropping. So we have in and out packets, those who are following the profile and those who are not following. And within that in and out profile, we have a minimum threshold value for the out and maximum threshold value for out packets. Similarly, minimum and maximum threshold value for the in packets. That means whenever the queue length is reaching this point, what is the behavior? Similarly, this point, like that we define some threshold value. So probability of drop is equal to 1 means definitely it will be dropped, or maximum to what probability I can ensure that the data will be sent. So that is shown here. Now whenever a packet is coming, first we will see whether it is an in packet or out packet. See, when the average queue length is reaching at this point, till that everything is working fine. There is no drop of any packet, but whenever the average queue length is reaching this threshold value, the out packets will start dropped, because out packets are not keeping the profile, right? So if you want to drop any packet, if the queue is say reaching at this height, you have to drop something. So now you are allowed to drop the out packets, okay? But that also some of them will be dropped and some of them will not be dropped. That is why it is not reaching this probability 1. And similarly, at this point you are allowed to drop the in packets also, because even I am already dropping out the out packets, say, but still the congestion is getting increases. To some point you have to start dropping others also, and this is a threshold, and that compared to the out packet, definitely this for in packet the threshold will be somewhat better, right? But now whenever this max out, this point is reaching, say, definitely there will be dropping. You are not getting any guarantee, okay? Certainly it will rise to probability 1. Similarly for in packet, at this point you can't expect that any packet will survive, everything will be dropped. So just a simple idea, no need to go through this topic in detail, just understand this figure and explain. Okay, so that is explained here from the figure. It is observed that the drop probability taken on the y-axis increases as the average queue length is increasing on the x-axis. So for the two classes of traffic, that is in and out, there are two separate drop probability curves that are shown in the figure. So because the out curve has a lower minimum threshold than the in curve, it is clear that under low levels of congestion, when the queue is of some smaller problematic length, only the packets marked out will be discarded by the red algorithm. Now if the congestion becomes more serious, a higher percentage of the out packets will be dropped, and then if the queue length exceeds this minimum in threshold, the red starts stopping in packets also, because it is not able to handle the queue length is increasing like that. So the combination of a profile meter at the edge and the what we explained before. So profile meter means the profile, we are having some profile and the edge routers are marking the packets like in and out, and this random early detection with in and out, that is what we explained together, which are implemented in all the routers of the service providers network, together should provide the customer with a high assurance, but not a guarantee. But if you are looking at the expedited forwarding, we have that guarantee of minimum delay and loss, but here there is no guarantee, but high assurance is there. So this is next to expedited forwarding technique, higher assurance that the packets within this profile can be delivered. Okay, that about the two per hop behavior which are defined in differentiated surveys, and that is enough. Now to wind up this topic of quality of service as a whole, finally we are just having a look at the ATM quality of service, and this is something different approach. Like you can see the quality of service that is there in the ATM network. It is somewhat similar to the integrated service approach that we discussed. So ATM was designed with a fare rich in QoS capability. From the beginning itself, ATM is having QoS. But if you are looking at TCP/IP, when it designed, there is people are not thought of this QoS at all. But later, when they are getting demands from the real-time service, delaying request from the user, they started thinking of providing QoS, and different approaches came. But ATM was designed itself with a fare rich QoS capability. So in many respects, the QoS capabilities that are provided in the ATM network are similar to those provided in an IP network using the integrated service. It is more similar to that. However, the ATM standard bodies come up with a total of 5 different service classes compared to IETF3. So we already seen the IETF integrated service architecture, where we have 3 different classes of service, like controlled load, guaranteed service, and burst effort. But if you are looking at the ATM, instead of that 3, we have say 5 different classes of service. And these 5 I am just listing only, like a constant bitrate service, variable bitrate for real-time data, variable bitrate for non-real-time data, available bitrate, and unspecified bitrate. For more details of how these things are working, you can refer any material for dedicated for this ATM. Okay, as of now I am just mentioning ATM is the quality of service that is the inbuilt QoS that is there in ATM service. It is having some similarity with the integrated service. So with this, we are winding up our topic on quality of service. So just see what are all the things we already discussed, like starting from the quality of service, what is QoS, and what are all the parameters that define QoS, what kind of application are in need of QoS, and the classification, like a real-time, adaptable, and adaptive, intolerant, and tolerant, like that. And then we started our discussion on the implementation details, particularly the 2 major approaches, that is the integrated service and the differentiated service. When it comes to integrated service, we discussed topics like the admission control, policing, scheduling, reservation, and we saw some detail about the reservation protocol, RSVP. Then we saw the limitations of integrated service. Then we move on to our discussion on differentiated service, and particularly that concept of classification, like a premium, non-premium service, and the per hop behavior, expedited and the assured behavior. Okay, so that about an overall idea and some detail about the ATM QoS. Thank you.